Hey, here we are. It's Thursday, it's 11 a.m., it's QT Conversations. It's our chance to deepen our connection with each other, to explore ideas in tutoring, to generally have a very good natter. And live on LinkedIn because other people might want to join. And it's really nice for them to know that it's really simple to be part of this conversation. Just become a member and show up. And the showing up is not an easy thing. I met with a new member this morning and I said to her, community's like a bicycle. You have to actually pedal. So the work that we put in by participating is not to be sniffed at because there's always other things to do, but this makes a difference. So with that little preamble, I want to tell you about what we're going to be talking about today. Um, so I did make a curriculum sometime last year. And usually I completely ignore it, but this time it actually aligns. Because what I wanted to talk about was the importance of fun. And when we talk about fun, we're going to be exploring a few different things. So we want to talk about play. We want to talk about gamification. We want to talk about intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. We want to talk about motivation, and sort of the flip side of all of those things, when we feel that we need to be serious and why and whether we're right, basically. So we're looking for good vibes, and that's why I thought that it aligned really, because we are all topped up with good vibes right now from our session at Bet last week. So for 3 days, we spent time together, and sometimes it was in the qualified tutor rooms having sensible conversations. And sometimes it was in the qualified tutor rooms eating each other's sandwiches. And sometimes it was in the bar downstairs, throwing pizza at each other and laughing at Odette. So that
And
being,
playing on the stools.
and what? And playing
And
on the
playing on the
stools.
stools.
So you know what? Let's start there, Emma. Um, we were upstairs in our rooms and we were having sensible conversations about tutoring practices. And then we said, let's go and have a wander. And all of a sudden, I was like overwhelmed by this sense of play. And for me, that's really my happy place. And the first stall that we saw was that awesome music, hands on coding, jingly jangly thing. And off we all went. We dropped straight into that space of play. So let's start there. What is the power of play, Emma?
The power of play is if you're engaged in something and you're enjoying something, you're more likely to retain the learning that goes alongside it.
Yeah.
Um, so we did some student voice yesterday, actually, in our groups.
What does
And
student voice mean in non-teacher language, please?
so basically we asked the students why they love tutoring and why they love us.
Love
Um,
it.
which was I always used to hate doing it. I always used to hate saying to the kids, "Why do you like tutoring? Why do you like us? Why are we amazing?" But actually, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And it just the way you phrase it to them, and they I said to one of them, what do you love about tutoring? And she just went, everything. And I was like, that's just amazing. And
Amazing.
the thing that came up a lot, and it was generally from Sarah's students rather than mine, because I'm not the fun one, was how much fun the sessions are and how they like learning with us because it's fun. And if I literally counted through the sentences we got from them, it appeared probably 15 times over the evening that they find it fun and they want to learn and they want to engage. And that's really powerful.
What
Well,
age
you
are they,
said
Emma?
so much stuff there. Go on, Claire. Go
I
on.
want to know what age they are.
Oh,
And so everyone we had yesterday was from year 5 to year 11. And we had the same kind of feedback from all of them.
okay. So I want to know whether the fun was planned, whether they were activities that were intended to be fun, or I wanted to know if it's just a vibe. I want to know whether fun is the same as play. And I want to know that thing that you just said at the end about motivation.
So it's funny that you keep using the word vibe. And I'm going to have to actually open it up now because one of the year 10s who doesn't
Yeah,
like school
I speak like a year 10.
said to me, I said to her, why do you like tutoring? Why do you not mind coming here, but you don't like going to school? And she's like, it's a different vibe. And I was like, okay, like let's dig into that more. And she's like, I feel safe. I
Oh,
feel, and I think that when they say fun, what they mean is that they feel safe and that they enjoy their learning. So even some of my students said that they find my lessons fun. And I'm like, I'm very old school. I'm very chalk and talk. Like, let's do an example. You do 10 practice questions, but they still find it fun because they don't mean fun.
okay. So
They
let's
mean
pick up some
they're
terms.
happy.
Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Anyone
That's
want to
something
have a
else
guess?
as well.
Go on, Georgina.
So if it's intrinsic, then it feels like it's making something internal feel good, and it's extrinsic if it's making somebody else feel good, like doing it for somebody else. Most of whether when you're operating in a space where there's rules and things that you're told that you should do, that's more extrinsic, making the authority figure happy. But if it's making you happy to do it, that's more intrinsic.
That's beautiful. And you didn't even bother with star charts. Where do star charts fall in that?
I mean, it might be fun to play with stickers, but it doesn't really make you feel good to look at yourself being monitored.
Oh, so I am one of my earliest childhood memories. Hello, Katie, and welcome.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
Katie's our newest member, and we just had a chat earlier. And I said, if you can come back, we're on the same link. It's the worst kept secret in Qualified Tutor. I've been in this room. Georgina and I have been in this room for 5 years. So, Katie, we're talking about the importance of fun. And we're pulling on threads around play and intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. And I think we're going to come to resilience in a minute as well. But Georgina just defined intrinsic and extrinsic motivations as whether you're working hard to please yourself or someone else. Is that right? And I wanted to share with you a childhood memory that my teacher, when I was in year blah, 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 when I was 7 years old, she had a star chart for the whole class. And one girl, kid you not, she had an extension. Because she had so many flooming stars, she was already off the page before any of us had even crossed the halfway mark. So she had a little
Georgina.
Do you think
I feel like if we had a QT star chart.
Do you think Georgina would be up there?
Yeah.
I think probably I'd lose track and throw everybody some stickers and then go off and do something else.
Yeah.
Really intentionally, because motivation has to come from something far more meaningful than stickers, and stickers are really fun, so have loads. I participated in a really, really lovely parenting class when my kids were little, and I actually put this in the book. She said, kids thrive on surprises, not prizes. Claire?
Yeah, yes. But I was still a child that would probably do anything for a sticker. Yeah, I don't really know what I think about that actually. Nothing more to add. I need to think about it.
Okay, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Katie, how fun are your tutoring sessions?
I think varied. It very much depends on. I do have a lot of fun when there's less pressure and stress. I think sometimes I can react to stress or pressure from parents and kind of sometimes lose that a little bit. And I need to work on, kind of making both, making both marry a little bit better.
So you've done something beautiful there. You've reminded us that we're supposed to have fun too. Why Claire Talbot? Katie, you haven't heard this yet. Claire Talbot's students asked her what she does for a living.
They asked me what I did for a proper job, what my actual
proper job.
Oh, goodness me.
Go on, Claire. Do you have fun in your sessions?
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, I do. And I realised, funny enough, yesterday I did a lesson with year 5, and I realised at the end, I thought to myself, oh, I think that was perhaps a bit boring. So next week I've definitely made note, but I felt it as well. Do you know what I mean?
2 thumbs up for reflective practice, by the way. You called yourself out. So yeah, no, I have fun, and we have a giggle, and I learn lots of teenage slang. It's a vibe because they have to explain it to me, which I can then use at my kids, and they hate it, and it's brilliant.
So it's fun on two ends, really. You get to annoy people too.
Yeah, because mine are 13 and 16. So for me to come out with Skibbity Toilet was just mortifying, but it's what my job is, so it's fine.
Skibbity Toilet.
Yeah.
Right,
Sorry,
I'm gonna look that
good.
up.
Did you just say Skibbity Toilet? What the hell? No, don't.
I don't know what it means.
I speak teen.
Wow. Georgina, you taught me what yeet meant.
I will show you what Skibbity Toilet is.
Stop, not right now. I have an excitable 12-year-old in the house, Katie. So all of that being the case, now we're talking about fun sessions, fun for the tutor, fun for the young people. I want to know about why. Why do we need sessions to be fun? Why can Claire not coast on boring sessions?
Can I go in on this one?
Go for it.
Definitely engagement.
Mom, that's Skibbity Toilet.
Because, like Emma was saying, when they come to tutoring, my ultimate goal is it doesn't feel like the classroom. It doesn't feel like a maths lesson necessarily. And that you then create that safe space, and you create the environment where you can explore and you can giggle and you can, oh my goodness, I did my maths in a red coloured pencil. Just that sort of thing where it just makes it feel completely different. They feel safer, and therefore they will thrive.
Thrive. There's so much there. I used in the book the phrase "learning can be lovely" as one of my things, and what you're saying about, unfortunately, in the classroom, learning doesn't always feel lovely, and anything that we can do to reframe that for them, especially if they can take it back into the classroom as a real sense of how positive progress can feel, is pretty. I sound really grown up. Georgina, you'll go.
I don't like the way that sentence went. I sound grown up. Here you go. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that frustrates me with what I do in my tutoring, because it's so exam focused that it's difficult to make exams fun. But for me, it's very easy to make the subject matter fun when we're not talking about it in terms of these are the things that you need to know for an exam. These are the things that you get to know about the world, and how interesting is this, and also this isn't on your exam, but how cool is this? Like, you can, if you actually enjoy what you're talking about, you can make it fun, even if it comes with lots of eye rolling from teenagers, like being a nerd again. It's fine.
So there's, again, there's so much there, right? Because we're saying that maybe exams, and I don't know whether that's the same as saying assessment in this context, squeezes the fun out of a thing because it makes it feel high pressure.
Exactly.
So my kids taught me a phrase recently when we were very involved in British Bake Off. They call it low stakes, high stakes. Like, on the one hand, the cake is really not that big a deal. But on the other hand, with the editing and the judgment and the pressure, it ramps everything up. There is an advantage in that in terms of motivation, maybe. Is there an advantage in having a deadline?
Possibly. I mean, it certainly works for me. If I buy a course that is a self-paced online program, I'm never going to finish that course. If I buy a course that's not getting signed off until I attend a live session or submit a piece of work, then it might get finished.
Wish you told me that years ago, Georgina. So, is a deadline or an exam as motivating as joy, as an enjoyable session?
No, because if you don't actually personally care about the result of that exam, it's still not going to make any difference. You have to actually have a reason to, like, if I pass my maths exam, I never have to do maths again. It's still enough reason to want to pass the maths exam.
So sad. So sad motivation. I really relate to it. So Katie, what are your thoughts at this point?
I So I think that, I think that they're both certainly, I think preparing for an exam, and I think some students, they love seeing improvements in their grade, and feeling confident that they can master something, and that obviously, but there's a point, sort of too much focus on exam and too much preparation can, often my students will get to that peak and then they'll start to decline before the exam as well, and it's managing that with parents, and just trying to um uh fight for not having to make lessons too exam focused, so that there can be that joy of just going off on a tangent and exploring something that's off the curriculum, and just having fun with the lesson, and learning as well.
I think there's also more purpose in that as well, isn't there? You think about the young people who work with you or Georgina in science, or Emma or Claire in maths, or Jenna in absolutely anything. And what happens is you get inspired. No, you inspire the young person with your own curiosity, with your own passion for your subject. And that is a thing and that's what learning should really, that's what education should really do. It should inspire our young people to want to continue to become educated way beyond exams. And sometimes I wonder whether, so my 12-year-old who came with us to vet heard Stephen Fry say that teachers are like gardeners. And he looked over at me and he said, I've only had one gardener. And he was able to name her, the year 6 teacher, and he was absolutely right. She was really, really special. But the fact that he was able to know what a gardener looked like and felt like, and spend time with somebody who can really inspire you, is really special. So coming back to fun and play, I want to ask you about the relationship between fun and resilience.
I'll go.
Well done.
No, I think there's an absolute direct relationship, because if you are enjoying something, then you'll keep at it for longer. If I'm doing a killer Sudoku and it's seriously killer, then chances are I might want to throw the book across the room. But if I'm finding my way through it and can unpick it, then I'll keep going at it. And I think
there was something about pitch in there, wasn't there? If it's too killer, then it
Yeah.
stops being fun.
yeah
And when the fun diminishes, then the resilience diminishes.
yeah and again, so yesterday I was doing a number puzzle, a money-based puzzle with my year 5s, and actually the strongest mathematician in the group gave up first because he couldn't just do it. And the 2 weaker ones were much more resilient, and they were actually chosen to use coins. They were moving the coins around, we were talking, and they kept going for longer. And actually none of them solved it independently in the end, but they tried longer.
Hey, they tried longer. Have you ever heard of the marshmallow problem? I want to do this with you guys next time. Katie, do you want to describe it, please?
So is this delayed gratification?
Actually, it's not.
No.
It's the other one.
Okay.
It's the building one.
Oh, maybe not then. Go on.
I'm so sorry. I did not mean to set you up for the delayed gratification one is super. The one I used to do this whenever I had a cover lesson. Spaghetti, marshmallow, roll of tape. How tall a tower can you build? Emma's doing it in her brain. Look. No.
We did it with midget gems and little cocktail sticks,
And
it didn't get very high.
okay, didn't get it. Was it stable?
No.
And who's we?
We used to do it at the open evenings with our year 6s.
Did they play with their parents as well? And
you learn more from the interaction and the problem solving and the questioning and all of that stuff more than the activity itself.
So famously, there's a TED talk that describes this, that they gave this to early years and architect students. And the architecture students made a plan, built it once just before the time was up, and it collapsed. They had nothing to show for it. Whereas the early years kids had to go, ate the pasta, had to go, and eventually came out with something that, you know, was at least something to show for their time and effort. So going back to Claire's cohort yesterday, you had your one confident mathematician who lost it the minute that he needed to go beyond his comfort zone. And the others who were so used to being out of their comfort zone that they were able to persist for longer. My question is, how does fun grease those wheels?
I think sorry. I was in the session yesterday, it was definitely the ones who had chosen to actually play with the coins and use the coins that felt more like they were playing and doing something. So and also again yesterday I had some year 11s who were doing an activity that, had it been straight out of a textbook, I think one of them in particular would have been like, obviously you know what words that means.
Yeah, but we can't say them on LinkedIn.
But because I presented it to them differently, I presented it as a puzzle, so it was more fun, and again, definitely resilience was longer, lasted more, because it was they were having a bit more fun, and it was different to the classroom for sure.
Gorgeous. Anyone want to go further on that then? How does fun grease the wheels, Katie?
Maybe the pressure's off when you're having fun, and pressure can be a block if it's causing too much anxiety.
Emma used the word safe earlier, didn't you? Go on, Emma.
Play removes the fear. We talked about it last week, the fear of failure. And when you're doing that textbook exercise of, when am I going to go wrong? I'm going to go wrong at some point. When am I going to go wrong? Whereas if it's a game, or it's even like as simple as cutting the questions up so that they're not a list, can just take that fear away. It doesn't have to be fun as in it's an all singing, all dancing session. Just presenting it differently can take that fear out of it.
That's exactly where I wanted to go next. How can you make something fun? You know, because Claire mentioned the textbook then, and like that our young people are trained to have a specific reaction when somebody opens a textbook in their face. And obviously screens are the most exciting thing in the world. So anything that you can give them on a computer game is always going to be more fun. And Emma's saying somewhere in between, a pair of scissors will do the trick.
But even yesterday, so you saw my tablet when we were at vet that I can draw on.
Yeah, I was coveting that.
I gave my student my tablet for her to do the same questions that she would have done on a piece of paper. And she's like, oh, it feels nice. And it's like, it's just literally, I'm doing the same question. It's still chalk and talk. It's still not fun. But it is fun because I've let her use my tablet. I've trusted her with my tablet, and it's got that different feel to it. And next time she's more likely to remember it because it was taught in a different thing. So the other day we sat on the floor and did the 20 questions. And then we did a treasure hunt another week, because you can still do the 20 questions. It just doesn't have to look the same.
Oh, do you remember when the teacher used to take you outside to do the lesson on the grass outside?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Doing that.
That was the best class of the year. Why did they not do that more often?
I used to do that when the first school I taught at, there was like a little grassy area right by my classroom that nobody else could see. And I used to take the kids out, and we used to sit outside and sit on the grass and work. We were still working out of textbooks and still doing the curriculum, and they stopped me doing it. They wouldn't let me do it anymore.
Oh.
Can I
It made
just
me
hop
sad.
in here?
Sorry, I just want to share with you that Katie didn't have any grass outside her window because she was in Brixton. Go on, Claire.
So Emma last week, in conversation with me, commented on the fact that she thinks that some of her things are a bit boring. Now, I would like her to replay
Sorry.
everything that she has just said about how she mixes it up.
Yeah, mixes it up. That was the
And-
phrase.
And just say to that.
Yeah. And you know what? Alongside that, since we're picking on Emma, the fact that you had that fear factor of asking students what they thought, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Fun.
know I'm the worst culprit at it. I know that. But I'm trying not to pass that on to the students or my kids.
Did you guys call when you were in back in school and you planned those lessons that were really only there to please Ofsted? Did you call them whiz bangers? So that's what I learned. So there are some lessons that are designed to be whiz bangers, yeah? They don't really help with learning.
All singing, all dancing.
All singing, all
content.
dancing, headaches of a lesson that detract from next 3 days afterwards because you have to go and rest and you've broken the photocopier. So simply mixing it up by sitting on the floor is just genius. I also want to share with you that our awesome Jack Simmons worked with an autistic student for a long time. And sometimes he wouldn't open his bedroom door. So Jack just used to sit outside the bedroom door and read whatever storybook they were working on at the moment. And to me, there's something about what we really talk about when we say fun that's just about alignment and just going to where the young person is. Something about ease that goes along with fun there. Claire, go for it.
I was just going to pick back up on what Emma was saying about, just making it different. So I've just been grabbing things from around me. So
what have you got within arm's reach there, Claire?
Right, are you ready? I've got my whole cupboard over there, but I'm leaving that alone. So Easter last year,
Can't open it or it'll all fall out.
I'm not Monica from Friends. Well, I am kind of. If last year I was doing some past paper practice with a home ed or out of school student, and that's dull. So I cut it up. I hid them. Each question went in a little egg. And she just, so then we were doing the paper out of order and she just had to pick an egg and do the question. I've also done things like I've color coded a paper. So like Georgina was talking about exams. I color coded a paper. I then wrote the colors on my spinner and we had to spin it. And if it said like a red question, then we had to do a red question. If it was a green question.
Do any of them anyway. They're going to do all of them. It's just you mixed up the order and you've added a little bit of random in there. And then doing. And a visual and a sensory.
And then yesterday we were doing factorizing quadratic.
No, there's nothing fun about that.
Oh, there is, because I said, right, here's your questions and here's all your answers.
Nice.
And so I said, it's a puzzle. Everything will match if you've done it right. Everything, there'll be no pieces left over. And so because it didn't feel like a textbook, they did so much maths, and then they would, but then they were self-checking, because if they found that it was 2x plus 4, but there wasn't a yellow one with 2x plus 4 on it, then something's gone wrong. So just, mix it up, make it different.
Beautiful. Okay, so this is what we're going to do with the last 20 minutes of this conversation. I want a definition for fun versus play versus gamification. And I feel like there was one more, but I can't find it. Something to do with motivation. Fun, play, and gamification. Are they the same?
What were the three words? I didn't process.
Fun.
Yeah.
Play. Georgina, would you mind? Fun, play, and gamification. Could you drop those in the chat for me, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Jenna, we are watching the chat, so please don't hesitate to throw your ideas in. Fun, play, and gamification. Are they different, and do they sometimes get mixed up, and is it useful to separate them out? And what do each mean? That's all. I'll put my feet up.
Yeah, I think what Claire's just described is gamification, because she's intentionally brought things into the lesson gamify the learning experience and make it more interactive, like make it feel to the student that they have more autonomy in what they're doing, and then it's less that they're being told to do something, and it is more enjoyable. Fun can be completely accidental, but it's not accidental when you've gamified it.
Anyone agree, disagree? What are your thoughts, Emma?
You can find the most boring things fun. What other people think is boring. We can make the whiz bang lessons and the kids walk out and go, oh my God, that was so boring. But we think we've made a fun lesson. Whereas when they are just doing these questions in 20 different ways, and we're like, oh, that's just a bit boring. They're still doing 20 questions. They're like, oh, that was actually really fun, because it's the achievement and that intrinsic motivation that makes it fun. It's not necessarily play, it's not a game, but it's fun because they're achieving.
Is there a difference between play and a game? Is there a difference between playing Play-Doh and playing, go on, Katie?
A game usually has rules, doesn't it?
Nice.
Whereas play is a bit, without rules. You can be more experimental.
Very nice. And therefore, in early years, do we talk about games or do we talk about play?
Play.
Why?
Learning through play.
Why? Not learning through games.
Because it's exploring. It's open-ended.
Okay.
It's child-led.
And then when we get to reception, we put them in uniform and staple them to their seats. All of a sudden, they switch from play to game. That's what it seems to me. It seems that we introduce rules and reduce the scope of exploration. So now you can only explore forward rather than in every direction. So to me, there's a really strong difference between game and play. Games also include competition. Play does not. Games also include reward and scarcity, whereas play is all about abundance. And to me, fun sits alongside those things, because actually fun is a different beast. Fun is a thing that you can sprinkle on anything. I promise you, if we give Georgina 10 minutes, she can make spreadsheets fun.
They are fun already.
No, they're not. Yeah. You're nerds. It's ridiculous. Spreadsheets are sad, boxy things, but I know that you can slice it differently to make it fun for me and your students.
It might be a challenge because I do find them very fun already.
Well, but you're very empathetic, so you'll work it out. I think it's something about what Claire and Emma were saying about the delivery model that's fun. Like, not those, the dusty teachers in school who, when we were little, who used to say, right, we're going to do something really fun today. And you're like, no, not really. No. not that. But actually the going, sitting outside, the sitting on the floor, the snipping the thing up, the anything in an Easter egg, anything from Poundland, which I guess nowadays is Temu. Those are the things that bring sparkle to the lesson and keep their attention for longer, keep them coming back when they're not sure they want to, keep them motivated throughout a session, build resilience just by changing the delivery. So I think I'm looking at 3 different things. Anyone want to see if they can reflect that back to me and tell me whether or not they resonate?
It did give me a very sad reminder that when I went to nursery, it was called play school and then school, because no more playing.
They just kicked the word play off the front. Go on, more. Play versus games.
So games are a little, well, they're intended to be a bit more team-based generally, aren't they?
Okay.
It's kind of collaborative working, and there's a purpose, there's a specific thing. You have to figure out what the objective is and what the rules are to get you there. But play, you literally do whatever you want. So that is actually quite scientific. That's pretty much how I see science, is just playtime. We know the rules of how things work. We know the tools that we have, and we don't know the answer. So just play with it, and the only rules you need are how to not set fire to the lab or poison yourself. Otherwise,
it's health and safety
gone mad,
Georgina.
Pardon?
Health and safety gone mad.
Yeah, there's a few people die and then you learn some things.
Who's diving in here, Emma or Katie? Emma, go for it.
I think back to the exam thing, and within the system that we're in, it's really hard to play. It is games because you're trying to achieve something. And I think it has its place and it's great. But I think the reason that so many adults struggle with play and exploring with no end is because we've been trained to do that. We've spent our entire lives pointed at something and we've lost the ability to play.
Yeah. And there's something, you know, Georgina says here, constant need to be productive. There's something about proving our worth. There's something about, you know, justifying our existence, not to overstate it, but really I feel like it's that big that when you're playing, it means existence has its own. This is how we talk around here, Katie. It's ridiculous. When you're playing, it's like there's a presentness, isn't there? Whereas the idea of needing to be productive is always about going somewhere. Katie, it is your turn now. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just thinking, so I guess like play in effect, it's a lot of, as Georgina said, a lot of science, great innovation comes from experimentation and having that, but then you know, the other constraints of being alive are that you've got to earn enough money to pay your bill, you know, so there's kind of like participating in the in life is a bit of it. I guess with infinite time, you would have the capability to play and experiments, and great innovation would come from that. But then you've got like the other, you know, the capitalist side of life that's competing with that a little bit.
Yeah, I hear that, and I actually I'm not sure that it's only capitalist. I feel like there is a sense of need for purpose in us and in our young people. Claire, you're nodding.
Yeah, I was listening and nodding.
And
I
have a sticker.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, no, need for purpose. I don't even know what I've got thoughts at the moment.
Okay, but it's really cool because like you're the officially funnest tutor I know. Like fun is your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole sort of anti-classroom, group work, fun resources in your hands, antidote to maths anxiety, maybe. Yeah. Is really, really powerful. So go right back to there because I know I got a little bit floaty light for a minute there.
Go where? I'm lost.
Oh, I don't know either. Okay, next question. Ready? Okay. So this conversation is play.
Yes.
Yes. And yet I am holding space. So there are rules. We don't speak over each other. Nobody's rude to each other. There's safety that we create. So how do you create safe spaces for play or for games or for fun?
Opportunity and modeling.
Nice. That's exactly the word that I had in my mind at the same time. Modeling. What does modeling look like? Coming to you next, Jenna.
So, for example, with my maths club, I've taught them a few dice games and I've guided them. But equally, sometimes I'll have a session and they'll just, at the front, there will be stuff. And I just say to them, create some maths, create a game, play with it. What can you do with this stuff? And because they've seen the types of things that I've worked with them and modeled them and the questions that I've asked them during the sessions, then they feel enabled that actually they can do that. They can play and explore and create some rules and yeah. So, but because I've told them in the first place, like given them some examples that they can then build off.
Does anyone want to respond to that? Has anyone done something similar?
I think maybe a similar thing, but a different age bracket, because I feel like teenagers, and then they're online as well. Like, I can't really do the same thing. But the first conversation that I have with a student is like, I probably have had a conversation with their parents that's telling me all about their woes and how hard everything is for them and how big their goals are. And then the first conversation with the child is the complete opposite. Like, tell me what you enjoy, tell me what you're good at, and just being the buffoon that comes quite scarily easily to me to make them comfortable with getting things wrong and saying what's on their mind, even if it's not, like, just to show them this isn't school and I'm not your teacher, you're not going to get a detention, you're in your house, we're just having a chat.
Right, so there's a lot of sort of like comfort involved, and modeling that sort of relaxedness.
Yeah. And that comes completely unstuck when I go through all of that process and then realise that this child is an absolute hooligan, and now they know I'm a total soft touch.
When they are hooligans, do you ever tell them 15 minutes of science and then we can watch this ridiculous YouTube video?
Yeah, I have had literally that, because I had a student that wanted to watch videos of Formula One cars crashing, and I said, please don't do that to me, because it's like I can feel what those people are experiencing. And then eventually I was like, look, if you finish this, what I had planned for today, if we get to the end of this, whatever time is left, you can show me whatever you want to show me on YouTube, and I promise not to complain about it. And I've never seen him do so much work. And then I was unfortunately traumatized by all of these crashes.
And did you have to perform the trauma to make it part of the fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he was watching the video, he was just watching my face.
Katie, what incentives work for you?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, again, just thinking about online lessons, which is most recent for me, definitely keeping track of time, incentives to, um, of improvement, like beating their score. Certainly if a student wants to do something or wants to show me something, just like Georgina said, I'll sort of say, if we get this done in 5 minutes, the timer's on, we can do that. And, that tends often works.
So Claire just mentioned Emma's lovely dog behind in her, and I remembered that when we were learning puppy training, and we're not very good at it, one of the phrases was make like a party. So because all dogs have ADHD, it's a fantastic approach. Rather than telling the dog what not to do, if you rather redirect them to where you do want them, then they go there really fast. So whatever it is that's your, in 5 minutes incentive, it also needs to have fairy dust sprinkled all over it. You need to make like a party for it to feel like the young person got what it was that they were after. Jenna, we really want to hear from you. Are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Go for it.
I think it all comes down to relationship.
Oh, does
My
it?
incentive is usually just me, and it's taken me a really long time to realize that. And for the kids, like, it's not usually me, like, for like overall. It is with the hardest kids to engage, the most nervous learners, the most reluctant learners. What they want is me and nothing. And it's something that I don't understand. I've never successfully figured out how to communicate this to professionals, to their adults. They don't care about the rewards charts. They don't care about the grades or the percentages or the sweets or whatever it is that extrinsic motivation is. A lot of the time, they can't find their intrinsic motivation. And it doesn't matter how cringy I am or how silly I am or how boring I am. What they want is that relationship.
So can I nudge you further on this? Because this is really, really interesting, because I see this with my children. You know, they would rather go on a long drive with me and my husband than go to the cinema, because they want to listen in on our conversation. There's just something about the being, you know, the beingness. We talk about how attention is one of the most valuable things you can give a person. And really that's what tutoring is. It's ring-fenced attention. And one-to-one tutoring costs more than group tutoring because the attention is less diffuse. So is it that your young people want that, Jenna, and or is it a learned behavior that's something about pleasing you? So they don't want a rewards chart, but they do want a smile from you. And are those two things aligned with each other?
Yes and no. I think it becomes that, but I don't think that is ever the main bit. And it's one of the things that I find really interesting. Like, people, like most of my students that are deemed the most complex needs or the highest needs or whatever, the hardest to work with, unteachable, are just often kids who have something like PDA, that have been traumatized, that have been
Pathological demand avoidance.
Oh yeah, sorry, pathological demand avoidance, which is just, it's a stupid name. It's such an unhelpful name. Like, I have quite classic stereotypical ADHD with PDA, and then the autism is a little bit more chaotic. But I mean, you saw me last week or whatever, right? Bouncing off the bloody walls because I was tired, because I was stressed. And I think that, hang on, please excuse
Your
the fact that
face.
I'm ill, and I'm currently in bed still. But I don't think, like, people always talk about how, like, these young people that are that high needs and that badly behaved or attention seeking, they'll do bad behavior just to get attention. I don't think that's wrong, but I think it's demonized. Like, yeah, all behavior is communication. And I think that that goes for us as well. Everything we do is behavior. And I think that for young people, all they want is to feel connected. Like, I mean, look at me and Danielle, right? That first day, I had met him for what, 10 seconds?
We're talking
and
about
you
my 12-year-old.
up. And you were sat between us going, oh my God, just stop talking. We've got to listen. This is cool stuff. Because immediately we knew we were on the same page and there was some banter there. And it's that non-verbal communication. Sometimes, yes, it's a smile. Sometimes it's the raised eyebrows and the snickering. And, you know, and it's different on different days. Sometimes they don't even want to be acknowledged, and being acknowledged is too much. Like, the person, was it James you mentioned, sitting outside his young person's door reading to them.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the reasons I do what I do is, when I was about 7 years old, my TA gave me this book, and I don't think I should have read it at that age, but I did, and
What was the book? It wasn't Forever, right?
it was a book by Tori Hayden,
Okay.
and I think it was One Child, and it was, I don't know if anyone here knows Tori Hayden or of her, but she was a special education teacher a very long time ago. I believe she's in her 90s now. I'm not entirely sure if she's alive post-COVID still, but I believe the last time I looked her up, she was still alive. And she's American, and she taught these unteachable kids with mutism and all sorts of different things, and severe trauma and all of these different things, in a time where it was weird to even have a special education classroom. It was really peculiar to be trying to do anything with these kids other than put them in an asylum kind of thing. And the thing that made me, according to my mum, addicted to these trauma books was that all she did was she just sat there and listened. And if that meant she
gift of her
rolled on the floor and screamed and pretended to cry, or just sat there on the floor and just existed with them, it's that relationship. And that
tell you what's
just
lovely about what you just described, and I don't know if we've ever said this before. So Claire's students get colorful toys because that's where they are, but Jenna's students just need someone to sit on the floor with them because that's where they are. And
sometimes
there's no value statement. There's no value statement attached to that, but it's very much about how you need to be the person that your student needs, because you can't put a colorful toy in front of an overwhelmed young person. They can't, that's not going to help them. That's not going to be fun, right? That's going to push them over an edge and be explosive for them. Whereas the bored ones, that's all they need. They just need you to mix things up for them. Really, really interesting.
Have just been reminded very intrusively of a fail-safe. Something that works even those that are terrified of dogs. Don't you?
Okay, so let's wrap this up like this. As Jenna was describing that, I was thinking, I'm a little bit obsessed with musicals at the moment because we're doing a costume party and I need to find a costume. I was thinking about Sound of Music. So what did Maria do? I mean, I know it's a story, but it's not far from lots of classrooms that we've all run. What did she do?
She sang, she made it fun.
She did. She closed up the curtains and gave them
rigid black and white rules.
Yeah, she stopped whistling a whistle at them. And it's all they needed. And then they thrived. Anything else you want to pull on in terms of fun things? This conversation got more serious than I thought it was going to be. And I'm curious to know why that was, really. What are your parting thoughts, Claire?
What are my parting thoughts? That fun for me is essential.
Okay.
And that I can get a lot out of my students when I'm having fun. And I'm got that vibe, should we say? Come back to that starting word. And that I absolutely want it to continue. And that's me, that's what I pride myself on, and I need to make sure that it is in all my sessions.
So yum. Georgina?
It's probably an important life skill for us and to share with our students to be able to just find the joy in any situation. I mean, we can make things fun as far as possible, but sometimes you're going to have to do hard stuff, and to be able to find joy in anything is very helpful.
Sarah and I were listening to Anne of Green Gables when we went to sleep last night, so I definitely got a good dose of that. Emma?
Fun doesn't have to be the stereotypical fun. Fun is enjoying learning.
Katie?
Yeah, so just to build on that, I would say fun is different things for different people, as Jenna and Claire's examples have shown, or what yeah, it can mean very different things for different people. And obviously one of the great things about one-to-one tuition is that you can access that, whereas you can't necessarily if you're doing group work or classwork.
I agree with that. And I think implicit in all of our conversations is the whole knowing your students, right? So Georgina mentioned crash videos, which sounds horrible. But certainly early on in the getting to know your student, you're going to find out what they're into, so you know how you can make something better suited. Jenna, parting thoughts?
If the sessions or whatever don't mean anything to us, if it doesn't feel good for us, it's not going to feel those things to our students either. And sometimes it might be slightly off. We might think, oh, that was a bit boring. And they were like, no, actually, that was really interesting. But sometimes that's our meters being off, sometimes that we have slightly different meters. But overall, if we're not enjoying it, they're not going to enjoy it.
That's really interesting. And your phrase about meters reminds me about the trust and the alignment. You know, Emma didn't trust that they loved her sessions until they told her. And that confidence, you know, we've spoken about confident tutors creates confident students, creates confident tutors, and off we go again. So that virtuous cycle that we're trying to jumpstart. I think you know that this for me is fun and play, and not at all gamified. I really, really, really enjoy these explorations with you. So I look forward to meeting you again next week. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Georgina. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Katie. And thanks, Jenna. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.